Well, hey there, everybody. Welcome, America. Welcome to Creating. Rose up.
It's called the Health and Wealth for Retirement podcast.
There you go. There you go.
Sometimes
That's
us
why
old
he's my
guys
partner.
have a brain lock.
That's why he's my partner. His name is Rick Collins, and he wants to help you create wealth for retirement.
And this is Mark Delaney. He's going to help you figure out your health problems and how to get to the body you deserve and need for retirement.
And I can do that easier than I can say the name of my own podcast. I'm just saying it. I'm just saying it. So today we're going to take our podcast in a direction that we've always wanted to go. We're going to do something that's really you focused, meaning you as a listener, you as a podcast follower. Because this is being recorded on January 11th, and in our last episode we talked a lot about how most of us have forgotten our resolutions, and this year is going to be just like all the others. So Rick and I decided we came up with a plan to do something different. And that something different is, I was listening to a speaker named Clark Kegley, and I listened to him from time to time, and he came up with this three questions just to do better. And I loved it. And I did some adaptation. And so this week, I'm going to expose those questions to Rick and you as a listener. And I'm going to give you my answers because I've had more time to think about it than Rick. Rick and I don't speak to each other unless we're live somewhere talking to groups of people. So it's an interesting thing. So Rick, does that sound good to you? Before we begin, any thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's interesting that we want to be honest with our listeners, honest with ourselves, honest with each other, and be genuine and vulnerable, because unless you're real and relevant with yourself, it's all hypocrisy, and we don't want to be hypocrites. We want to be real with our listeners. So I'm glad we're going into this direction.
So Rick is very, very good at helping his clients do something to improve their wealth, correct?
I tend to ask good questions and point out people's weaknesses that they might not even see themselves. So yes, I think so.
Okay, and I feel like I'm really good at helping people create their health. And I've done it for myself. I'm 64, I'm a cancer survivor. I can still run for miles, stuff like that. But if I'm honest with you, my financial life would be a disaster for someone my age. I'm going to be heavily dependent on Social Security, so I definitely need to change. So that's why talking to Rick and going through this process is going to help me move towards creating wealth for my retirement. And Rick, you want to talk about your health struggles and how you hope to...
Yeah, I sit at a desk all day, and I've been a type 1 diabetic for 30 years. Unfortunately, I've got a sweet tooth and an insulin pump, so I have not taken the best care of my health, and ballooned up to 315 pounds. I was a porker. I'm right at 200, and I'm really happy with where I am. But exercise was never a priority until I kind of hit the wall at about 49 years old. I went to Las Vegas, got off the plane, and could barely walk, and started having back problems ever since. I've had 4 back surgeries in 5 years because I didn't take care of my core. I didn't exercise. My mobility and flexibility have gone down the toilet. And if I'd have done a little bit along the way, I would be in a much better place right now.
And so we tell you this because, there are a lot of people out there who claim to be superstars, who claim to be living perfect lives. Well, I am an example of what you would want to be when you turn 64. And Rick is the example of helping people become financially successful when they're 64. And so we thought, why not talk about our vulnerability so you can understand what it takes to make the changes. And we hope that it resonates with you. We hope you'll do these exercises with us. And we sincerely hope that we'll help you grow and create, like the podcast says, health and wealth for your retirement. So Rick, are you ready?
Let's do this thing. Ask your questions. Fire away. Let's get started.
All right. So the first question is, now keep in mind last week we did say you don't want to focus on the result. You want to focus on the choices and actions that create the result. However, you still have to have a result in mind. So my result is, so I created this course called In 88 Seconds a Day. And the one thing that I want to have happen to me this year is I want to get, so the question is, what is the one result you want in 2025 or the next 12 months whenever you're listening? What is the one result you want, and you're committed to making happen. So, Rick, that's question one. Listener, that's question one. Now, Rick, you're not answering this week. Remember, you're going to ponder it this week and come up with your answer next week. So I've pondered it.
For those who are watching or not watching, I'm stroking my beard, pondering, what do I want?
So, so my answer to that question is I created a course. It's called In 80 Seconds a Day. It's a virtual training program, and it takes place over the course of a full year to help other people accomplish their fitness and other goals. And so my goal for that course is to get 1,000 paying students who pay an average of $44 a month for at least 3 months. And if I did that from that one program alone, from that one product source, I would make $132,000 in the next 12 months. That is my singular goal. Rick, thoughts or comments about that goal? Anything come to mind as you hear me say that?
It's a big goal. What's your plan to get there?
So more important than that, Rick, is question number two. So that's my answer to question number one. 1,000 people take my course for 3 months at an average of $44 a month. Now, they're not all going to join in January, obviously. Some going to join in June, but you get the idea. They spend 3 months. So the next question is, why don't I have it already? So many people want to talk about what they're going to do, but they don't talk about what they have been unwilling to do to this point. And when I work with clients, one of the things I always ask them is, why aren't you doing this? And how come you don't do that? Because identifying what you're unwilling, unable, or scared to do is the first step to. So my answer to why I don't have it already is, one is a reason and everything else is an excuse. For me, 2023 and 2024 were disastrous years. Well, I watched my stepdad, who I call my dad, slowly pass away throughout all of 2023 to eventually die in September of 2023. Then I met on October 1st the woman of my dreams in October 2023, and then in November 2023 I got diagnosed with prostate cancer and spent all of 24 dealing with the consequences of it. So a lot of that's a reason. My excuses are I was never willing to do what I'm willing to do this year because my income and everything in my life fell so far in those 2 years of watching someone I love die, falling in love with a woman almost instantly, and then going through cancer treatment, which really, really sucks, which is why I speak so much about health. So that's my answer, Rick. Second question is, why didn't I do it already? And so I think that's a very important question for people to answer. Now, you're not answering the question this week, you're going to answer next week, but when you hear the question, what comes to mind for you?
Lethargy, inertia, lack of motivation, lack of discipline.
Okay.
I know that's my issues is, hey, I'm going to get in shape one day, and one day never is not on the calendar.
Yeah. The sense of urgency is something that I've lacked for a long time, and I think it's because of comfort. Like, I think sometimes we get caught in just being comfortable. And comfortable is never great, it's never bad, but it never really gets you what you want. So question one is, what's the one thing you really committed to getting in the next 12 months or in 2025? And then the second thing would be, why don't you already have it? And if you don't investigate why you don't already have it, then you're not really being honest with yourself. You're just going to come up with a lot of pipe dreams for the next 12 months. And that's why so many people, by this time of the year, have already dropped most of their New Year's resolutions. Would you agree with that, Rick?
Yeah, we fall victim to our bad habits and our bad intel in our heads, and it's easy to give in to those default programming that's kept us where we are and not giving us what we want. So yeah, it's really easy to fall off that wagon in a heartbeat.
And so by publicly committing, Rick and I are saying, hey, this won't happen to us this year. We are going to create these results. And I made mine, and I'm not trying to build myself an excuse. I could do half, or I could get there in a different way. I could get 666 people who stayed with me for 4 months. I'd end up with the same result. The key component is really the $132,000. That's really the key component. And if somehow I fell short and only made it to $100,000, I just have to suffer in another year of poverty. So, question one. What is the one thing you want to make happen in the next 12 months? Question two, why haven't you done it before? And for some of you, and rarely, the answer is, well, I never thought of it or I never wanted it before. But very few people have that answer. So, Rick, are you ready for question three?
Yeah, lay it on me.
Question three is, what is the one thing that you are committed to doing to make that result happen? Now, in some cases, it may be two things. It's just whatever. What are you committed to doing throughout the year to make that result happen? How does that sound like a question? Does that sound like a good question, Rick?
It reminds me of City Slickers when Curly Bill goes, "You have to have the one thing." So yeah, it's important to have one thing that you're going to do. I like that question.
And so for me, that one thing is I'm going to market and sell like I've never marketed and sold in my life. And that comes down to doing two things. Number one, it comes down to spending literally 3 hours a day, 5 days a week. Well, and it could be 15 hours a week because I may do some things on Saturday like this. For example, this is producing something that's part of my marketing campaign. And then afterwards, I have to do all the stuff to make it a finished product. But so 3 hours a day, 15 hours a week, making social media and other forms of marketing content so people know I exist and they know the course exists. Second thing is 2 to 3 hours, 10 to 15 hours a week, making one-on-one direct contacts to ask people to take the course or at least enter into a conversation with me about the course. So those are two things I'm committed to doing for the next year to get this result that I'm talking about. And then there's a third minor thing, which is spending about 90 minutes a day to make sure that the course is working and I'm fulfilling to all the people who are taking the course. And that means sometimes that'll mean even making additional content and material for people who are my clients. And that's a 7.5 hour day. That's a 6.5, 7.5 day, which is something all people who are full-time working would do without thinking about it. And so those are the three questions, and then those are my actions. What do you think about question three, Rick, and how and my answers to it?
I think that the biggest thing is you're specific about what you're going to do and how much time you're going to put in so you can measure your results instead of being something nebulous like I'm going to work hard every day this week. The more specific you are in the steps that you're laying out, the more likely you are to follow through with it. So I like that.
And so every week, Rick, we're gonna do it. We're gonna do this for you next week, and I have to come and report my true results. And I'm gonna be honest with you and tell you, I had this setback, or I did it, or whatever it is. And what will be evident to me and to everybody who listens is, if I were to actually spend 3 hours creating content every day, posting it, having conversations with people, if I actually reach out to people for 2 to 3 hours a day, there's no way I won't accomplish this goal or come close to it. The issue isn't that we don't know what to do. The issue is we don't really make a commitment and stick to it. That's been my problem for many, many years now. I can think of so many plans I've made that I never followed through on, but this one, I'm going public. You as my mastermind partner, you as my podcast partner, me, you, and God. I'm proclaiming that this is the year I do these things. Look out, world. Here comes results.
I like that resolve you got. It's important to know where you want to do, where you want to be, and what you're going to do to get there. And I also agree that accountability to each other, for the two of us, and to our listeners, and hopefully our listeners can join in and be accountable to each other and to us even. I would love to have an accountability hour every so often so people can report in, hey, said I was going to do these things and I did them or I didn't, and here's why. Because knowing what I want to do is important to me, but somebody else knowing what I plan to do gives me more ownership, more impetus, more motivation to actually do the things I said I was going to do. I told you the other day, my son, my 14-year-old said something really powerful the other day. I set up a big goal for the 2025, a dollar figure goal for my business. And he looked at me and he said, you got 365 small wins to put together. You can do it.
Yeah.
And so it's important I got somebody watching me about what I said I'm going to do. Am I going to deliver for myself and for him and for our listeners and to you? Because it's easy to give into wishful thinking and then give up, a third of the way in because nobody's watching, so nobody's going to care. But if we're open about things and accountable to other people, it definitely keeps the motivation moving, I think.
And so one other thing, Rick, you don't just have somebody, like I'm somebody, you have your son.
Yeah.
And I would imagine there's no one other than maybe your wife you want to disappoint less than your son, right? I mean, if that
Yeah,
makes sense.
my youngest is watching dad, and dad's got a model: stick to itiveness, follow through, accountability. It's an important life lesson for him, but it's an important tool for me to use as my motivation.
So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening to me right now, those are the three questions. Rick, we might give our audience back some time this week. We went through this pretty quickly. You so question number one, please write these questions down, ponder them, come up with your answers, and feel free to share them with us at whatever medium that you're listening to us on. There's usually a place to leave, or you can go to Rick's website, which is
Bankingforyourself.com, bankingforyourself.com.
and you can tell us exactly what you came up with for your goal. So question number one is, what is the one result you are committed to creating in 2025 or the next 12 months? And it could be a 6 month. It doesn't matter how long. The main thing is, what is the one result you're committed to accomplishing? Question two, why haven't you already done it? Why haven't you already done it? And be honest with yourself. You could be scared. You could be feel you lack the talent or skills. You could be busy. You cannot solve a problem that you do not know exists. And then question number three, with the answers question one and two, what are you committed to doing to get that result? Three very simple questions to ask somebody. Three very difficult questions for people to answer. So Rick, we've been here now for 17 minutes, and last week's show went over. So, any last thoughts for today that you want to give to our audience before we end this podcast a little early?
In the past we've talked about setting goals, smart goals, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time oriented, and it's easy to fall into the trap of, I didn't reach my goals, so I'm going to beat myself up and give up. I want to encourage all my listeners, whatever goals you've set for yourself, whatever resolutions that may or may not have happened after January 1, today is a new day. You don't have to stay where you are. Don't beat yourself up for things that didn't work out. Learn from them. If I'm not performing and not hitting my targets, why? Am I lazy? Do I need some guidance? Do I need some training? Is it a bad idea? Learn from that and move forward. Don't stay stuck in the, oh, woe is me, I'll do better next year, because January 1, 2026 is a long way away from us, at least. I don't know when you're listening, but you can start a new path today. You don't have to wait for a magic day on the calendar to change what you're doing and reorganize your life and reinvigorate yourself. Find some coaching, motivation, accountability partners, and get off the couch and make it happen.
Yeah, and again, your past doesn't equal your future. I'm sure the Kung Fu Panda mentor said that, or I don't know his name, but your past doesn't equal your future, but your future is based on what you do, not what you goal set for. And so the three questions are very, very important. And I'll just repeat them, and then we'll bring this episode to an end. Question number one, what are you committed? Not what do you want. What are you committed to accomplishing in the next, either in 2025, next 6 months, next 12 months? Is it important enough to you to say, I'm willing to make a commitment to do this? Question number two, why haven't you already done it? If it's a new idea, that's one thing. But if you had this same idea for many, many years, I've had this income goal for many, many years. And then question number three, what are you committed to doing to make it happen? And you just set out to do those things. So, Rick, if someone wants to get in touch with you, they can also reach you at, best way to contact you if they want to find out how to create wealth for retirement?
My bankingforyourself.com website has a contact spot, and you can schedule a call with me to talk about where you are, what you want, and how you can get there. Bankingforyourself.com.
And for me, it's school.com/THMCLUB. and that's my course. But there's also ways you can get in contact with me through that course. Rick, I'm really proud of us. Kept it to 20 minutes today. Last thoughts and say goodbye.
Looking forward to this journey with you, Mark, and sharing with our audience. More accountability for me is always good. So, I welcome everybody to join with us in this journey and listen, learn from our combined 114 years of wisdom or plus, and also learn from where we mess up, where we miss, because nobody's perfect. It's progress, not perfection. I encourage everyone to listen in so we can hear our journey, learn from it, be motivated and inspired by it.
And so I'll say it again, so many people who do what we do publicly make themselves seem like they're perfect every day, that they do everything right, they know everything, and it's really just not true. Every person you know that's famous was where we are right now. It is a day and a moment like this with this kind of commitment that will get us to the next level. And listener, the same thing is true with you. Your commitment, your willingness to answer these questions, especially the one about why don't you already have it, will change your life. Rick, we'll talk to you during the week, and rest of you will see you same bat time.
Same bat channel.
Have a great one, everybody.